OverDrive off and running on a Mail-It-In Friday. It's Al's brother filling in on the big chair for Hazy B, who's down at Augusta. We got Frankie filling in for Noodles, and O-Dog sitting in his rightful spot at home. What's going on, boys? How's your Masters Friday treating you?
I just want to know, is it confirmed Hazy B's on property at Augusta National right now?
Ooh, good
I haven't heard. I haven't seen anything. There's the no cell phone thing, right?
Yeah,
so how will we know?
Well,
does anyone know what his plans were? Like, was he supposed to get there today, or was he just going tomorrow and Sunday? Like, what was his action? I'm not even really sure. He'll be so fired up, though, walking on that property for the first time. You just, like, if you're a golfer and you're passionate about golf and major championships, and for so many years you watch it on TV, to walk in the first time, man, is that special.
How many times have you been there?
I went 2 years in a row. And I brought my buddy and my uncle one year. I went with Brett Hedican, my teammate, one year. Tiger won one year. And I think the best way to do it is go Thursday, Friday. I mean, everyone's got different experiences. Yeah. Some people want to go see the par 3. Some people want to see practice rounds. Some people want to sit and watch people on the range. That's not for me. I like to go Thursday, Friday, and then get home and then watch the rest on TV.
Do you really? So you would want to be there for like Victory Sunday?
No, because you can't track it, El's brother. Like, it's so difficult. You can only be one place at a time. And when you're on TV, you get to see somebody charging. You get to see different shots. When you're there, it's like you're stuck in one place. I sat behind 16T, so you saw the guys coming down 15 and then teeing off on 16, and that was a great spot. You walk the course once and then you set up shop somewhere, but like to see the final round or the final 2 rounds, you can't catch up on everything. So I think it's great to go there and visit the place. It's like, you know, the cathedral for golf, and it's like you got to get there once. But I like going Thursday, Friday.
I feel like the walk up 18 on Sunday, right, with the final grouping, like that would just be a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah, but dude, it's
like
35
awesome.
Deep the whole way up the fairway on the tee. You can't see anything. How tall are you? Like,
not very.
Yeah, it's like you're going to have a difficult, unless you have one of those stupid paper things that goes up in the air and then views downwards. That's your only chance of seeing anything. But what is my guy? I've been busy. What is my guy Tiger Woods at? Is he going to be sticking around for the weekend?
I believe he's going to make the cut. Look at him. He's at +1 right now. He's done now. So +1 even on the day. I think the cuts line's sitting around 4, I think I heard.
So he's making the cut.
I believe he is making the cut.
That's a mission accomplished for him, given all that he's been through. And like, you talked about the property there, but how hilly that place is and the grind that is, man. Like, that is a mission accomplished for him.
I agree. And the idea of him coming out, and I've kind of been hard on some of the comments that he's made, the idea of him every Tuesday at Augusta National where it's like, and I understand he is teeing it up there to try to win. He's that kind of player, person, whatever you want to say about it. But it's just realistically, it's just making the cut and putting on a show and trying to appease the fans because he's just not good enough with health. And the lack of playing, he's just not good enough to win a tournament like that as of right now.
He's just wired. He's just wired different, right? Like, remember when he was going through all those injury problems and he had the bad knee, no ACL, fractured. He's like, no, screw it, I'm playing. Like, screw you guys, don't even talk to me about withdrawing. Like, so I guess if you're wired that way, you show up to Augusta where you've won a bunch of times and you're like, no, I can do it because I'm Tiger, and that's just how he doesn't think like
Frankie,
normal
when
people.
He was at Torrey Pines and he beat Rocco Mediate in that playoff, he hit a shot under a tree and Stevie Williams' caddy hurt his knee crunch. It's on the documentary. Yeah. And he said to him, that's enough, man. I don't want to see your knee go down like this. Let's just grab the bag and go back in and not play. And he told him to bleep off and he's going to win the tournament, and he ultimately did. So you're right. And it must be difficult for him to swallow the pill of watching a Scotty Scheffler who's basically playing Tiger golf right now and saying, I'm not as good as that, and I don't know if I can compete. He can't compete with that. It's that much better. And it's his health. The guy, when you can hardly walk and you don't play and you don't hit balls, you can't win major golf tournaments,
No
even
kidding,
if you're Tiger
man.
Woods.
And Scheffler plays a lot. Like Scheffler's out there. Like he's more often than not, you turn on a PGA Tour event and Scheffler's out there, and there'll be some nobodies that are trying to climb the ladder, and there's Scheffler at the top of the leaderboard. Like, and the other thing, it's I texted you. And I was like, did you see that DeChambeau tee shot?
Are we okay on the text, by the way? Because I was kidding, and I thought it was NHL humor.
What did I miss? What happened on the text chain, boys?
It is NHL humor.
You could read it, Frankie, if you want to. Frankie texted me and said, did you see the DeChambeau drive on 11?
Yeah.
He took a route up and over the trees, and I haven't seen that in quite some time.
And then I got a text back saying, I'm undecided on whether that's message worthy, chum. Chum. And he goes, I'll give it to you. You know what that is? That's the young guy on the team going up to the grizzled veteran, and he kind of wants to act cool and be a part of like the older guy crew, and the veteran just gives him a little, all right, pal, we'll let you in this time, but you really got to earn it still.
I'll let you in this time, but you're pressing your luck. That's what that was.
Well, it's almost like we're going to do the filter a little bit later on at 5:30. It's almost like that one could have used a bit of a filter before you sent it through, then I'm guessing.
That could have been talked about right in the top of the show. I don't know. It's just... Yeah. I like the Masters text, though. I've talked to a bunch of colleagues, friends, because everybody's jacked up about it. Did you see this? Did you see that? I hate this guy. I hate that guy. Man, there's a lot of that these days where people are they just love hating on somebody. You just see a golfer, and because he is like Jason Day's baggy pants, people hate that guy's guts because he has baggy pants. It's like,
and he's the nicest, most likable guy. Because
nicest guy in the world.
His story has been incredible. He came from nothing. He reached the pinnacle of the sport. He he really struggled for a number of years, and now he's back, and all anyone can talk about is the weird shirt and the baggy pants he's wearing.
That's the one thing about golf that is interesting is there's so much to talk about, but there seems to be something with the outfits. Like I was watching this morning, I see Homa in these pastel blue pants that he's wearing also. Look at these things.
Look at those things. They are a little like,
those are pretty egregious.
I don't know, that's like late 90s.
Pants.
Yeah.
That's pretty egregious. But
you know what, though? I get the guy props because he's trying something different. Although, mind you, I don't know who's watching that saying I got to get some of those to tee it up next week. You know what I mean? I don't think sales are going to jump through the roof. I don't want to talk that brand, but I don't even know what the brand is. But
I don't know.
I just don't see golfers looking at that saying, I'm rocking that. Maybe in Cali, I don't know, Florida, possibly.
I was thinking like Keswick, like maybe a guy like in Keswick, he's going to get some baggy pants and go play the local muni up there. I don't know.
So I got a question for you guys. So right now, DeChambeau looks like he just birdied the hole on 12, and he's now sole leader at 7 under. And there was a report that came out today that he's using these 3D printed clubs that were just approved on Monday. And he's out here now leading the tournament. Like, as for guys who are avid golf fans, like, what do you make of this whole story and the way that Bryson has just torched the course today?
Well, I think the one thing you got to give the guy, Al's brother, is he thinks outside the box. I think he's one of the first players in a long time. There was somebody way back when who all of their irons were the same length. That's not a traditional thing. That's not normal. And he did it, and he pulled it off, and he won the U.S. Open. And I think he likes tinkering. He just wants to experiment. And apparently these things are kind of mounded like a driver head, something to that effect, where it just lessens the curve of the golf ball. That's not something I'm going to be looking into either.
No.
I like a tailor-made P790, and I try to rip it as hard as I can, and that's the iron for me. I would never... I mean, if the guy wins 10 in a row, maybe you start sniffing around saying, is TaylorMade making something like that? But he's just such a different player, and he thinks about it so differently. I don't even know who's going to want those.
Yeah, it was like that putter last year. Remember that black and white putter? I think it's called the Jailbird putter. Wyndham Clark won with that thing. All of a sudden, I can't remember who it was.
Ricky Fowler did.
Ricky Fowler, and then all of a sudden, everyone had the black and white Jailbird putter. Like, that could be the same situation here if Bryson wins. But the thing that stands out about Bryson this week, how many times has he shown up to Augusta and said something ridiculous? Like, I'm going to play it like a par 67 this week. And he says something outrageous. And this year, He was kind of out of sight, out of mind. He showed up, and he's ripping drives on the driving range, which is a little crazy to see that, like taking full swings at it. But he's playing a smarter brand of golf, even though he's still trying to carry the trees on 11. It's just he's letting his play do it. He's not talking about it now.
And it must be a little less pressure for a guy like that, because I think for anybody kind of in his category, just everyone there is a quality player. But when Tiger Woods is walking around the venue, everything's about him. Like, that's all people talk about. Tiger make the cut. What's Tiger doing? How's his leg? It's like when you're at the top of the leaderboard for that, it's almost like no one's focused on you. It's almost better off for a guy like DeChambeau or somebody, a Max Homa, anybody like that, because all people talk about is Tiger Woods.
If you're Hayes and you're down there, are you just trying to follow Tiger the whole time, or are you mixing it around? I know it's hard to get around.
You said up to. God knows what that guy's up to. You guys know in public, like he's like in normal real life, he's a weird dude, right? Like, I don't know what he would want to do, and I'm fearful that if he's with a group of people and they have an agenda and something that they want to do, and he'll be just like. He just likes to do his own thing. Like he's a weirdo in real life.
Is he down there by himself? Like, did he go down with?
I don't know what his routine is.
He got invited.
He got invited by somebody, and I'm just fearful that people are going to have. Oh, we got to be here and we got to be there, and he's going to give the Heisman and say, "I'm nowhere. I'm doing my own thing. Thank you for inviting me. Now I'm on my own program."
I'll never forget.
He's a weirdo like that, man.
The first time I did OverDrive, I showed up to the studio there, and he's in his little nook. You know what I'm talking about with that sliding door?
Right over there.
That little office.
That little office over there. He's got the sliding door open, but he's in the Matrix. Like, he's in his computer. Hey, Brian. Like, really? Hey, buddy. All right. Well, we'll see you in there. Like, I was like, okay. He was in the zone. He was just completely.
Dude, by the way, if you go in there and you don't really know him and you bother him in some capacity, I don't know how anyone would do it. Dog, don't even.
Don't do that.
Because you're just going to get. I'm trying to do this. Get ready for the show.
Yeah.
Where all of us, Al's brother, you're hosting today. You had to do some prep work, but we just let it fly and get in there. But he's in the zone, and he's not. He's like a caged lion in there. You just don't go in there.
No, absolutely not. He'll bite your head off. Did you ask him to get you one of those Masters bucket caps? Because I know a couple of years ago you tried to get Duffy to get you one.
I honestly, I'm older than you guys. I'm 48 years old, and my wife gave me a mandate. And you guys know that I've been on a program. Yeah. I've got my proper amount of clothes taken to the cleaners and shrunk. And I'll never buy another piece of clothing, I don't think, for the rest of my life. I can wear my jeans again. My jeans fit again. That's great. But I'm never getting another. My wife told me if I get one more hoodie or one more Masters thing or one more golf thing or she sees one more golf club, it's simply garbage or lit on fire. She's not doing it anymore. She doesn't want. It's a full purge in my house, and everything's going to be clean, and I'm fully on board with it.
Let me ask you this. If you find out, or not you, someone finds out that Hayes is going down to Augusta, like, how high up on that list of friends do you have to be in order to put in a merchandise request?
Well,
you know what I mean?
He's got the perfect write back where he can just write back Monday morning and say, I just got my phone and I just saw your message. Sorry. So if anybody wants something, you're just not going to – he can flush it and act like they took his phone away for the whole weekend until Monday.
Buddy, it's like when you played for the Leafs, I'm sure you went through this. You got guys coming out of the woodwork. Maybe it was different when you played. Like when I played, I'd get a text at 12:30. Hey, buddy, thinking of heading down tonight. Can you put some tickets aside for me? I'm like, I haven't talked to you since grade 11. Like, what is this?
I never dealt with that. My buddies knew. I would offer them to my buddies, but none of my buddies ever said, can I get nobody ever bothered me. My parents made sure that none of like his friends or uncles, and it was just, you got to think about hockey, man. I don't want to be I had random calls on the road from people that like from childhood where it's like, the dad of the friend from childhood that you played summer hockey with, and it's like, hey, can I get some tickets? And the guilt of saying no, it's because there's no reason to say no other than you just don't want to. And it's like, what people don't understand is every time it's $400 a ticket, and it's like, okay, I haven't seen you in 30 years, but I'll get you $800 worth of tickets, and you got to pull the trigger on.
This is the craziest one that ever happened to me. My dad, he ended up flushing this for me, but he brought it to my attention, which I really appreciated. He goes, you'll never believe what this guy asked me. He's like an acquaintance or whatever. And he goes, hey, this is when I was in the Penguins organization, heading down to Pittsburgh to watch the game versus the Leafs, wondering if I can get into the family and wives' room for some refreshments.
Come on.
I wasn't physically there. Like, I was in Wilkes-Barre, and this guy threw in the family room request. It was crazy.
Why would you want to go in there anyway? That place is poisonous, man.
Yeah,
Although my best friend in Carolina, he didn't even need tickets because he went to every game. He had my 2 tickets for every game. They weren't exactly going like hotcakes back then, and he just wheeled right in the players' entrance and then just went into the Wise room, grabbed beers. I had buddies that would go in the Wives room in Toronto and have 2 beers in the Wives room and then take 2 up to the stands, 2 between periods, 2 to the stands. Just, you could tell the people in there were sick of my buddies.
What are these buffoons doing?
Exactly. It's usually it's like, hi, I'll have like half a beer, and then I won't bother you. It's like, give me a deuce, and then a deuce up to the seats, and then I'll be back for more.
That's
insane. Insane.
When it turns
there was
from
probably some
one-time...
people, guys, last night that wanted to go down to the Wives room at that arena last night and have a couple beers watching that.
Well,
that was crazy. Like, I was in the building doing the Habs game with Death Row, and we look over. It's a 7:30 start for us, and he goes, "It's 2-2." What?
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be one of those nights. And sure enough, it was. It was one of those like classic old school Leaf nights where anything is gonna go in either way, and there's gonna be some big defensive breakdowns either way. And it's like, that's not really what the team has been here the last little while, but it was a little bit of a throwback game last night.
It certainly. I mean, last night you look at it. Legitimately, first minute of the hockey game, it's 1-1. Both teams score. And I got to tell you, I don't know how you guys feel right now. Like, obviously, the story last night was Matthews getting 2 goals and getting himself closer to 70. Needs just 2 more. And it's absolutely amazing what this guy's doing. But I'm still kind of bothered. I don't know if bothered's the right word, but like unsettled by how this team doesn't quite have it set on the back end yet. And we saw some things last night that were just silly. Like, I don't know what TJ Brody was doing on that first goal. And then Mark Giordano just gave the puck straight to Nolan Foote on that second goal. And I'm thinking, I don't know what they're going to do on D. I think in practice today, Lyubushkin was moved out of the top 6, and now they're going to try Liljegren up there with Morgan Rielly perhaps tomorrow. Like, outside of Benoit and McCabe, it doesn't feel like Keefe has a good grasp on what he wants to roll out there for game 1. There's only 3 games left to figure it out.
I think sometimes in Canada, like, we're all guilty of this in every market where, I mean, the Vancouver Canucks have had such a great season. And when they have a stinker, the overreaction is significant when I watch it, where it's like, you see the Vancouver tweets, and it's just like, is this team ready? And then they win a game 4-1 against a quality team. It's like, oh, maybe these guys could do some serious damage. And then they have a setback, and it is late in the season, and you're looking to be dialed in. But playing New Jersey 3 times in a row, and it's just, I don't know. But there's 3 things that stick out. You mentioned the D Corrals, brother. That needs to be in order come playoff time. It didn't really look like it was in order last night. The special teams needs to get its act together on both sides of it, because if you enter the playoffs with the power play doing what it's doing and the penalty kill doing what it's doing, penalty kill being more concerning because that can just absolutely roast you come playoff time. So there's the second thing. And the third thing is the goaltender, what he was doing in the net last night.
Yeah.
And I've talked about his play, and it seems like the pattern is a couple solid performances and everyone pumps his tires, and he should be feeling good about himself. And then you get that one performance that backs it up, that or some type of small injury, and that's kind of the pattern. And then he'll get it back together and have 2 good games, and then you just wonder what's going to be next. So there's some things that need to be solved in short order here before the playoffs, and I'm sure they're going to be paying attention to it and address it themselves. But that's, you look at Samsonov, you wonder, what are we really going to get come playoff time? Because it seems like somewhat of a coin flip. You don't know what you're going to get.
For a team that is playing well and has had a lot of success recently, that can't be understated. They've played really well. There seems like there's a lot to manage for the coach.
You can't forget that.
Right? Like, we do have to point that out. The team has put together a nice little run of hockey here, so it's important to keep that in mind. And like you said, one game isn't going to make or break things. They're playing New Jersey a million times, and every team goes through this. Edmonton just got their door blown in by the Dallas Stars the other night, and then they came back with some good performances. Like, it's going to happen, but it feels like there's a lot for Sheldon Keefe to manage here. Where what I mean by that is there's going to be some things where it's like, do you have a feel on when the goaltender is going to maybe have an off night, or maybe you can feel something coming, or when do you maybe make a switch there if you feel like that's the right course of action? On the back end, how are you going to assemble things? Is Liljegren going to play? Is he going to play higher in the lineup? Are you going to put Brody on the right side? Like, there's a lot of parts here that are actually interchangeable and movable, and I think that just the coach needs to have a good feel on those kinds of things. There's one thing that really excites me, though. This is going to be the first time, I think, going into the playoffs in this Matthews-Marner kind of, this Sheldon Keefe, Matthews-Marner era, where he doesn't have to have a quote-unquote big four guy with Matthews, because the first line is playing really well with Domi and Bertuzzi, and now they have the opportunity to actually load up a second line with Nylander and Marner. They've never had to do that. They've never been able to do that before, because what would that first line have been in the past? Would that have been Matthews with Bunting and Kerfoot? That was never going to work. That was never going to be a first line. But now that those guys are playing well, you have legitimate depth lower in the lineup, and that is different than in years past.
See, I do appreciate that, Frankie. It's like, I don't know, and the playing in Canada is brought up a bunch where people are hard on us, and we don't like it. We just want to live our lives. Those are some positive storylines from last night. Auston Matthews chasing 70 goals is just incredible. And you're right about the depth, because Nylander and Marner had some shifts last night with Tavares, and they were pretty dynamic. They were creating. They had some shots.
That was dominant.
It was
numbers
dominant.
Support it too, I know you're not a big fan.
Really, Al's brother? What were the numbers?
Goodness,
give me some numbers of what they would have accomplished last night. Do you have any off the top of your head?
I do have some off the top of my head. I think it was 14-1 for shot attempts. Scoring chances were 8-0, and they played like four and change. I think about 4 minutes together, so it wasn't a lot. But when they were out there, it looked pretty darn good. And I think even Keefe afterwards was talking about how excited he is that perhaps that's something he can go to, and he knows that that is a line that'll be able to cook. And I mean, it's interesting because it's against the New Jersey Devils, and last night was a bit of a sloppy game overall. So, I mean, we'll see what happens against a team like Florida, who's a little bit more structured. But, yeah, that trio looked great. So if you can keep that top line intact, you can go back to that trio there with Marner, Tavares, and Nylander. But then you get to the question, okay, well, now you're losing that spread out scoring, and now what does your third and fourth line look like? It's going to be interesting to see how Keefe decides to go about things. I don't think it's very set in stone that that's what he's going to want to do.
Well, Al's brother, you also remember you're going to get Yarncroke back at some point, so that's going to help your third line. And that's going to help your penalty kill. The penalty kill has been bad all season long. Call it for what it is. They didn't have guys that play the penalty kill. They tried to force feed some guys into that situation, and it never came along with the rest of the defensive game. Like, Al's brother, you like to cite the numbers. I don't have them offhand, but I can tell you that defensively, the team has gotten much better from the start of the season to now, where there's been a lot of improvement there, but the penalty kill never came with that because they just didn't have the right penalty kill personnel. So, yes, at 5-on-5, it's going to be good, but you can't get caved in, man. And that's been one of the things that the Leafs haven't been able to do to other teams in the playoffs is expose a bad penalty kill. When have we talked about the Leafs power play catching fire in the playoffs and exposing someone else's penalty kill?
What about exposing defensemen, period? Like exposing a D pairing where it's like, if that line's on, you guys go out there and you put it in their end and dominate. I don't remember ever saying that in a playoff series.
No.
Yeah, no. And I mean, I think now we can pretty much say, based on what happened last night, they didn't collect a point. Florida got 2. It's set in stone. Toronto's going down to Sunrise for round 1 of the playoffs. I think there's like a 90% chance of that being the case. Can they do it against the Florida Panthers and that D core that they have down there? They didn't do it last year in round 2, obviously, but we'll see. That's what it's another year, another chance for them to try and go on a big run, because that's what we've been waiting for here in the city of Toronto. Coming up, Graham Dillette to join the show. We'll get back into some Masters talk here on a Masters Friday. Overdrive continues up on TSN 1050 and up on TSN 4. Mail It In Fridays is brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. From tip-offs to tie bites and puck drops to pizza, BP's elite lineup of apps, wings, and ice-cold beer is always dialed in for game time. Hustle into your local BP tonight. AK and I were actually at Boston Pizza before we went to the Jays game on Wednesday.
Wow. So, are you guys super buddies? I didn't know that.
AK and I, we hang. We hang here and there.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's involved in those types of
we're both like,
transactions?
30-year-old single dudes. So it's you just hang out and go for beers essentially. Go check Jay's
I know
game.
exactly what you guys do. You just go to Boston Pizza and you hammer beers and you watch sports.
We have done that before.
I know Graham Dillette can do that because I've done it with him.
Oh, Graham Dillette, we're rocking a beautiful mustache on King Street potentially. I could see that happening.
He's
for
got
sure.
game.
I would not doubt that. Let's go down to Augusta. Graham Dillette joins us now here on Overdrive. What's going on, Graham?
Did somebody say beers with the boys?
Buddy, how much do you love a beer with the boys? Be honest, because I know how much
to do.
What are the vibes like right now down at Augusta?
Well, it's windy, man. Like, it is super blustery. Like, I was out walking around a little while ago, and it's just like every once in a while, I'm just looking actually right now in behind this practice arena or practice stage here, and there's like sand blowing up out of the bunkers, and it's super blustery. And then you watch on TV, and it looks like they're playing, and it's pretty nice, but it's blowing hard out here.
So, Graham, like you're seeing Scheffler play well. DeChambeau's, I believe he's still at 7 under. Like, how impressive is that to you? Like, did you think that they'd be almost at level par with the conditions, or like how good are those low scores?
Yeah, yesterday was tough, but nothing like today. So, the guys who went low yesterday and they're just kind of like hanging in there, right now, and that's all that they can really do. Nobody can really separate themselves. It's all about not going backwards for those guys that are up at the top. And, you look at a guy like Rory, who got a little bit behind the 8 ball again yesterday after the first round. And it's like, you can't make any kind of moves on days like this. You have to just kind of just stay afloat and wait until the things improve a little bit to try to make a move up the leaderboard.
One thing I found incredible to look at is with all the rain, like it looks icy out there. Like the greens look it looks like it's been like a drought. And it's crazy to think of the course being set up like that and looking like that after that rain.
Yeah, and I don't. The thing is, they got pretty lucky and dodged a lot of the rain. Like even during the delay yesterday morning, a lot of it I think was just prepping the golf course because they had some winds. There was a little bit of rain, but it wasn't, and then obviously a little bit of lightning in the air. But it wasn't. They didn't get as much as it kind of you'd think, having like a 2.5 hour rain delay, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And whatever moisture there was in the golf course is completely gone now. It's been bright sunny day here all day, and it's pumping.
When you play this course in good conditions, you probably have to manage the course. You have to manage your game really well. Like, how much harder is it to do that with this wind? Are you trying to keep everything under the wind? Does that change your approach and your strategy on a lot of these holes?
Well, yeah, and just pulling the right club is so difficult. And, committing, especially that 12th hole, you approach into 15. We've seen so many balls in the water there today, and it's so easy, the tiniest little error, if you don't hit it crisp, can end up with a ball in the water or just, misjudging the wind, obviously. So it's trying to flight something, keep it below the wind. They say when it's easy, when it's breezy, swing easy, and it's true because you keep the spin off the golf ball by doing that and can kind of keep in front of you a little bit. But look, there's everybody's going to miss a lot of shots out here today, and you'd want to try to miss in the right spots if you can, and hopefully your short game can bail you out from time to time. But it's like one of those days where you just have to make seems like 4, 5, 6 footers just to make par to kind of hang around, and that's what the guys that are up at the top were able to do.
GD, what do you make of T-Dub where he's at? Is this kind of his reality now? I mean, I'm never going to crap talk Tiger Woods, but the idea of in the presser Tuesday saying I can win, and is this basically his reality to kind of hang around for the weekend and wave at fans and try to play some good golf?
I mean, it kind of seems like that, but it's like if there's anybody that could do it. I mean, like in 2019, we all kind of thought we were in the same boat, and he came out and won this golf tournament. So, but it's looking more and more like that. I mean, it's a struggle just to watch him kind of move around the golf course a little bit. Although I will say in the last couple of days, it's been better than it has in the past, since his comeback or whatever you would call it. This is the best he's looked physically and kind of, but he just doesn't have that killer instinct that it seemed like he always used to have. Like, he's kind of joking around with guys anymore. And yeah, I think he tries to maybe sort of fake it or trick himself sometimes, like in the presser when, he said, I think I can win one more or whatever. And he's kind of, asking, he's like, do you guys want more than that? Like, what do you want me to say? But it doesn't, when it used to be different. He would never say, I think that I can win one more. He's like, I'm here to win. Like, next question.
With Graham Dillette. Up at the top of the leaderboard, we got Bryson DeChambeau, now 2 strokes up on Homa and 3 on Scheffler at -8. How impressive have you been with the way that he's been playing with these 3D printed golf clubs?
Does anybody even know what that means?
I honestly, not
tell
really.
us. We want you to tell us what it is.
I don't know. I have no idea. Leave it to him to kind of. Are they not all 3D printed? I have no idea. But no, he's been pretty good. I mean, there's no question. And obviously yesterday going out and shooting 7 under is pretty impressive. And then being able to kind of just hang in there, like I said today, like just not go backwards is the key. And like that's almost as impressive as shooting 7 under yesterday is to shoot anything in the red figures today. And I think he's at even par right now for the day. But yeah, it's been pretty impressive. The other thing about the LIV guys is that you just don't really know where their game's at coming into this week, and he's been good.
So talking about those icy greens, I find a lot of these guys now, when they have these uphill putts, it's almost like they're really afraid of what could happen. And it feels like a lot of these uphill putts are being left short, or they're on the amateur side of the hole. Like, how hard is it when you get onto that green, knowing in the back of your head that something can really run out, but because you're uphill, you still have to hit it a little bit, but in the back of your head, you're like, I don't know. You kind of second guess yourself.
Yeah, even in perfect conditions. I mean, when these greens get this fast like this, it's scary. But then you add in, a 30 or 40 mile an hour wind and gusts like that, and it just changes everything. I mean, yeah, but you could have a straight putt on an exposed green and have to play it on the edge or just outside. And if that putt's downhill and then you get a little bit of shift of wind and all of a sudden that dead straight 4-footer is now feels like a left edge downhiller. That makes it extra scary. So it's just so tough in these conditions to make putts, to hit greens, to hit the right section of the greens, which is so important out here.
Graham, Scotty Scheffler, I mean, before the tournament, people were kind of connected with the thought that if this guy if he plays well, he's going to win. Are you still kind of there? Like, did you ever think that this guy would be doing what he's doing? And like everyone talks about his ball striking. How does that swing in the footwork equate to that pureness? Like, it's just, how does he do it?
Yeah, it's incredible. I don't know. What's really funny is that the only time he's really actually connected to the ground, because I watch every time he's in a fairway bunker, I'm like, oh, let's see what his footwork looks like in here. And it's like the most stable it is, which is obviously important in a fairway bunker. So it's like, I think he can do it, but I don't know. I don't know if it's his artistry or his way to connect the face or to get it to the right angle at impact is to, squeeze his left foot or his right foot out of the way and, change that angle or whatever it is. But he's incredible. I mean, we haven't seen anyone like this since Tiger Woods, and it sounds crazy to even compare anybody to Tiger Woods, but his dominance right now is pretty much there. And if he's making putts, and it's like, I mean, he shoots 6 under yesterday, and it's not like anyone was surprised. And like shooting 6 under bogey free at Augusta National is not that easy. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy, man. He's just like every single time he tees it up, he plays well.
GD, you know all these guys. Is the animosity between the LIV players? I know Wyndham Clark took a shot at DeChambeau yesterday, saying they only play 54 holes, and it seemed a little bit childish, to be perfectly honest with you. But is that stuff all gone, or is it still there, or what's the overall vibe?
It's definitely not gone. Most guys have kind of just realized at this point. I mean, it was. I feel like this was news like 2 years ago. And, we have to keep talking about it on weeks like this because it's like the only time that these guys all really get together. And everything kind of just bubbles back up to the surface. But for the most part, guys just, it's like, hey, you left. It's all good. You're not part of this tour anymore. But a lot of these guys are also still friends. And you can see them just kind of like, shaking hands on the range or, kind of playing little jokes on each other or whatever it is. So I think that most of the animosity is gone. I was a little surprised what Wyndham had said yesterday too, but I guess it is what it is, and everyone has some different views on it.
Well, it's surprising because you think when everyone shows up at Augusta, it's only going to be about Augusta. Like, I would imagine there's an understanding from, the top on down. It's like, whatever you guys got going on in your regular world, your day-to-day, like, that doesn't matter here. This is a week where we this is the tradition, and you park everything. Is that the sense that you get when you're on that property?
A little bit. You kind of I remember the first time I came over before I played, in the tournament. I came 3 or 4 weeks prior, and you're walking on eggshells out here. Even for us here this week as media, we're allowed to have our cell phones in certain places, and sometimes you have to be so aware because when you're just walking, a lot of times we reach in your pocket without even thinking and grab your phone and start looking. So there's all these little things where it's oh shit, I'm not allowed to do that. I got to take it easy. So, sorry.
We don't care, man. We don't care.
All good.
So it's just there's a lot of rules here that aren't normal, week to week, and there's just different things. Even when you pull up in the parking lot, there's no changing your shoes or anything in the parking lot. You have to do all that in the clubhouse or in the locker room, and there's just a lot of small little rules that you have to abide by when you're around here.
What's the deal with Dusty? Have you noticed the arms on Duffy's golf shirts? They just seem like they're pinching against his skin. Has that got your attention, or is that just par for the course? No pun intended.
Well, it was funny because I always wear medium, and I ordered medium here this week, and they're really big on me. I like a little bit more fitted shirt, and I was like, "What size did you get?" He's small.
No,
dude, are you?
No,
serious?
you cannot be. You cannot be wearing
That's
a small
50-year-old
shirt.
man.
This is not Oshkosh Bagosh kids clothing, man. This is professional clothing.
Hang on a second. You're being serious? He orders a small shirt?
Those are smalls, yeah. Yeah, they are. Man. Well, I'm going to get smalls next year. I'm going to do a few push-ups starting next year, coming in March. Wow. I'm going to do a lot of push-ups and curls in March. I'm going to show them up.
O-Dog, you'll be in a small very soon, buddy.
Hey, that's proof.
I heard you're dropping some LBs.
Oh, they're falling off. They're falling off,
It's not very fun, buddy, what I was doing before, so I'm making changes. I'll be as jacked as you the next time you see me. I'll guarantee you that.
You get a few more yards off the tee this summer? What do you think?
Yeah, tell me about that. I'm not sure you know this, Graham, because you've never gone into moose mode like I was, but if you drop poundage, do you get yardage or what?
I feel like you're going to gain speed. I don't see how you couldn't. Everything you're just going to be able to rotate better. I know that when, who was it, Daly or Lumpy or some of those guys, maybe Carl.
No, you know who it was? It was Carl
weight.
Pedersen. It was Carl Pedersen. He dropped weight and he couldn't play, and he said, "Screw this, man. I'm going to be a fat ass again. I can't play."
Well, and when it comes down to it, when you're playing for your livelihood and you need to make money, it's more important to get the ball in the hole than it is to be healthier, to look good for most guys. So I get that, but for you, I'm glad that you're making the change, bud. It's good for you.
All right, cheers, buddy. Thanks for doing this, man.
Thanks, Graham.
All right, anytime, guys.
There he goes, Graham DeLette, former PGA Pro golfer and TSN golf analyst here with TSN.
Where are you at, with walking the course this summer? What's the plan there?
You know what? The thing is, I'm an early riser, man. I'm on a Tiger Woods program where 4 o'clock I am doing things around the house in the kitchen.
I had a text from you at 4:51 this morning. Thank you very much.
And that's really ignorant because when you're an early riser, you have it in your head. And my daughters probably want to kill me. I got 3 teenage daughters, and I was putting together an outdoor furniture set in my kitchen at 4 a.m. And I had the drill going. And you know when you drill in and it makes that loud noise when it's all finished up? I had that cooking at 4:15 a.m. I'm honestly doing old man stuff where it's who the hell puts together furniture at 4 o'clock? But that's what happens when you get things sped up a little bit. Your body, your mind starts working differently. I don't want to sit on my ass anymore.
I'm up too. I'm up at that time. I texted you half an hour after, and then Al's brother went to bed at 6 a.m., so we were all up at the same time.
Well, that's the program. When you're younger, you go to bed at 4 in the morning, and then when you get to my age, you wake up at 4 in the morning.
Yeah. Frankie, how many texts have you woken up to where you just see, Al's brother sent a text at 2:31 a.m.?
No, you know what? Like, Jeff, this is crazy. Like, throughout the season, I'll wake up, before I had kids, I'll wake up at 7 a.m., and I got a text from Al's brother at 3:37 with some weird concoction the Leafs need to do in order to get over the hump, or some, like, percentages and this and that and this.
But
before
is that
this.
bar text, or is that like you
Dude, it's this guy he's sitting on his computer in his bed with a
Are you a Nighthawk like that? You're up at like...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, if I go to bed at 1 o'clock, that's a little early for me. Like 1 a.m. is an early bedtime for myself.
Dude.
I'm usually like a 2 to 3. That's when I'm going to bed, and I'm waking up around 10:30. That's
Dude,
my routine.
See, I'm an old man. I got old man brain. To me, you wake up at 11 o'clock in the morning, you pissed away half the day. And not everyone's a psycho like me that's getting up at 4 and putting furniture together, but I don't know. But if you're a sports and you're watching LA Kings, San Jose Sharks, and if you're doing all that jazz, then all the power to you, man. But
oh, buddy, I'm up late right now, and I'm watching Ducks regionals. I'm watching Sharks. I'm watching hockey games that I should not be watching.
Okay.
What are you going to do?
You got to watch them all, man. You got to watch them all. When I first started doing this, Ray Ferraro told me that you have to understand the Minnesota Wild, quote unquote, as good as the Toronto Maple Leafs if you want to take the job seriously. And I said, okay, so you watch 7 o'clock early game, and then there's a middle game in the Central Time Zone, and then there's a San Jose Anaheim game, the 10:30 puck drop.
Oh, they love that 10:30.
You gotta watch that. That 10:30. I used to work at NHL Network, man. That 10:30 puck drop is a kick in the junk like you've never seen before. If that thing goes to triple overtime, you're walking out of that building at 5 a.m. Lindsay will tell you that for free.
This is the number one thing you'll hear when you do those late Sports Center hits. We're all done. We're going to keep an eye on X game. Let's say it's the Kings game and it's a 10:30 start. We're all done. But if something crazy happens, we'll have to fire up for another hit.
I'd be like, if something crazy happens, I'll be sleeping. So
yeah, the morning show can take care of that one.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't tell you how many times you hear, if something crazy happens, we'll fire it up.
Outrageous. Quick leaderboard update over at the Masters. Bryson, -8 through 13, leading. Max Homa, -6 in second. And Scotty Scheffler, I believe, is on your team, O, at -5. He's in third. Canadian-wise, looks like we got 2 Canucks making the cut. Corey Connors at +1, and then I think Adam Hadwin just making the cut at +4 on the through the first couple of rounds.
So Al's brother is +4. That's the current cut line?
I believe that's the projected cut line as of right now, at least. I suppose I could change. We can, why don't we look that up and then come back and talk about it on the other side.
That's a plan to me, Al's brother.
Sounds good. Mark Zucchino going to join us at 6:30 as well, so we'll get back into some Masters talk with him. Mike Johnson at 5 o'clock, and I believe Noodles is going to join us at 6 o'clock for some
nice.
Yes, so we got a busy, filled show. OverDrive continues on TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. OverDrive is brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. It's Al's brother, Mike DiStefano, filling in for Hazy B, who's down at Augusta right now. Got Frank Corrado and the O-Dog with me. And the answer to the question that you asked before about the projected cut line, it's still technically at 4, but I see some people saying that it could get as high as +5, considering the windy conditions. So it's still undecided.
If it's still blowing and it'll be worse in the afternoon, that could easily go up.
But have you seen some of the viz of this wind blowing? I saw John Rahm putt, and he was covering his eyes because the sand was blowing into his face. It's crazy what's going on over there right now.
Well, it would be crazy on the greens, because if it gets to a point where you can't mark your golf ball and put your ball down properly, Graham touched on the greens. When I asked him the question, it's like, you put that wind on those greens, that makes putting. Not too often does putting or the wind affect putting, but it would at that joint. If it's going crazy there wind-wise.
Yeah, there was a video that came out earlier in the week where the guy essentially had like the stimp meter or the ramp or whatever, and he did a downhill putt, and this thing rolled and rolled and rolled. He went to that ball and then tried to do the uphill version, and it barely got anywhere. Like the contrast on those greens are remarkably crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of FanDuel, who do you think are well, I guess it's not really that difficult to guess that, but Scottie Scheffler's still the favorite to win, and it's insane how low his odds are getting, considering he's three back of the lead, but still plus 110 on FanDuel to win this thing.
Who's behind him? And he's obviously the leader.
Bryson at plus 450. You got Homa at plus 550. Homa were you saying that he was like kind of a middle of the pack, kind of long shot type of guy leading into it when you guys were doing your picks?
Well, it's difficult to call him a long shot player, but I would say with the form he was in going into this tournament, you would almost consider him kind of one of those long shot players because he hasn't been on great form this year. He's not known as really a long ball hitter, and he just hasn't played particularly well this year. So going into this, I would have considered him a long shot, but he's a top tier PGA Tour player. I mean, he's won 3 to 4 times now. He's a quality player, but heading in, he was not on form.
A nice chip on Ford this morning. I was watching. I saw it. I was impressed.
Very good analysis, Al's brother.
Thank you very much. We'll continue the Masters updates throughout the day. Zakino could join us at 6:30. Mike Johnson going to join us on the other side. Hour 2 of OverDrive coming up next.